Your task is to research the life, works, and themes of one of the key writers of this decade. Working in groups, you will create a poster that includes the following information. 1. Biography and pictures, not just a timeline of events, but an examination of the political, social, and economic influences that shaped the author's perspective.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're all going to be assigned one of these writers to kind of follow and research and discover and share with us your information. So who wants to read your task?
The students have been working on this project for about a week and a half, and most of the work was being done outside of class. I wanted them to really think about what they wanted to be graded on. So yesterday, before they came in, I said to them, you've been working on this project. I want you to think about the criteria that you need to be rewarded for. Where have you spent your time and energy? So they suggested some ideas to me. They said the creative piece was the most difficult thing for them to work on, that they wanted people's feedback on that, that the thesis statement, developing a clear thesis statement that actually captured the mood of the author was important. So I took those things that they said and developed this rubric.
Before we begin presenting today, I want to go over with you how you're going to be assessed as you present and how you are going to assess others and comment on their work after their presentations. So take a look at that rubric for a second. You have those 4 different categories, and they all go from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest that you can get.
I think performance assessments give kids an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge in a way that's not, answering a multiple choice test, but really an opportunity to showcase what they've learned.
The avant-garde style of the decade is shown in Faulkner's work through his stream of conscious narration, his rich imagery, and allusions to his experiences of taboo in the South.
All right, and so William Faulkner was born in an old Southern family in 1897, and he grew up in Oxford, Mississippi. The project I did today was, with my partner Ruby, we did a research project on William Faulkner, and so what we basically did is we researched everything that he wrote, from screenplays to poems to his novels, which he's most famous for. And so we wanted to portray the historical part behind him. We also wanted to talk about sort of what he emulates as a writer. And so what we did is we looked online, we researched in the library, and we looked for biographies, different types of background information that would be helpful in terms of why he would write this certain way. And so after we basically collected everything together, we decided what the styles we wanted to mainly focus on in terms of the way he writes. And then from that, we create a creative project together, which was basically a piece of work that emulated the same style that he did.
We had all our peers grade each other. We kind of broke it down into the biography and a sample poem and a creative poem. And basically all the students would, take in what they said, maybe ask some questions or give some feedback in order to understand the project better. And then we had grading sheets that we would then fill out in order to, get an overall grade for each project. He wrote this poem, and it was when he went into like a regular station, and he just saw how busy it was, due to like the way the capitalistic world was kind of forming, and people really hustling around to catch their trains. And he explains it as, when like petals from a tree get wet and fall and all kind of clump up, they kind of lose their beauty and their individuality, and become almost just like a mess of leaves. And he captured that real well, as that's kind of what was happening to these people and their faces and their personalities as they went out into the world every day, and they would blend in with the train station. You feel more in touch with their projects when you have to actually think about how you would grade it, instead of just reading it to read it, or listening in on a presentation to listen in. You really have to start thinking about each thing that they said and each thing that they bulleted and every way that they presented the project or paper or whatever it may be.
They all kind of took the opportunity after each presentation to consider all of the criteria. And also I think it probably changed the way that they were presenting themselves when they got up there, because they knew these were the criteria that were important, and they wanted to demonstrate, their knowledge in those areas.
Yes. When you were writing the creative piece, did you try to, how did you try to relate it to his writing style? Like, because I saw the meaning, you really grasped the meaning of the first piece with the leaves, but how specifically, because I know some of the other writers have specific styles and breaking in lines, and did he have?
He really just wrote. He was so used to and so fluent with Old English style of writing that he could easily go back and forth between Old English and New English with his writing, and that was really the first time someone's ever done that before, and that was really that's why he was so influential.
We do a lot of peer evaluating in class, we edit each other's essays, and I think it really helps to get more than one opinion, which is why it's good to present in front of a class. You're not just getting your teacher's opinion. Also, if you have more opinions, they also look at things differently, and I feel like when you're doing peer evaluations, you have to realize what they did and if it fits the context. For example, we were grading somebody's creative piece, and somebody in my group didn't like the piece, but the piece, however, did fit the style of the writer, and even if you don't like the piece, you have to realize that it does fulfill the criteria.
She was too young and frail and infallible to play with others. Her clavicles and knuckles protruded a tad more than others. She was sickly but did not mind, because she was not familiar with anything but sleeping, eating, rocking. Playing with other children was too akimbo for her. She would rather her limbs be set against her body, against the rocker, against the porch of the vined brick house.
Wow, Annika.
When kids have these alternative ways to demonstrate what they've learned, they really are more confident and more engaged in the work and the class, because they feel like they're successful, and gives kids many different ways to be successful.